Come on, BTC.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. Today is the 11th of September, 2024. We have an elongated show today. We're going to go over more stuff than normal. We have CPI to talk about, Harris versus Trump. We have national debt, and that's even before we get into the nuts and bolts of the show. So before we begin, can we please ask you to like and subscribe to Crypto Warehouse? Look at that. We are almost at 165,000 followers, 35,000 to go before the magical 200,000. I am hoping it is here before we know it. But let's see how we get on with the day. So What else are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Michael Saylor's $13 million Bitcoin target. We're going to talk about DECC. You'll hear more about that when we get there. Tron, we're going to talk about what's happening over there. What are they doing with stablecoins? We're going to talk about Apple, its new mobile phone and AI, Friendly Fire, and Sweet Caroline. Probably my favorite article of the show today will be about Sweet Caroline, and we'll let you try and guess who that is today. A few good mornings then to everybody that is in chat. Mags is here, Hidden Agendas, Chris, Danny. Anyone see the debate? We're going to talk about the debate very shortly. We are going to look at that as part of the X-Files. And I mean, I've only seen probably 5 minutes worth of the sound bites of the different clips. And I think the left are saying that Harris won the debate and the right are saying that Trump won the debate. So who knows? Good morning, Eugene, South Carolina. I hope you are doing well. Let me know what you think of the debate. Right then, let's crack on. We have an awful lot to get through. Market cap just snuck below 2 trillion, 1.99 trillion. Volume still in the 60s, not very high at the moment. Bitcoin dominance and ETH dominance holding on to 70%. Bitcoin is down roughly 1% since yesterday, 56,450. ETH 23.25, BNB 512, Solana 131, all down just a little bit. I'm going to go through why I think we're a little bit down today compared to yesterday. And again, it's fireworks today. If I was you, I would not be leverage trading today. It's CPI day. I'd have a day off. Obviously, keep DCAing into your alts, but give the leverage trading a day off. We're going to look at the dates. We're going to look at the targets and things like that shortly. But for me, this is a bad day to do that. Now then, gainers. ICP is up 11%. I do not know why. There's nothing in the charts to tell me why. Aave is up 9%. Thor is up. Uniswap. ASI is continuing its move up. I think it was 112, 19 when we looked at it on Monday. It's now 130. Mantra is back over $1. Good news. Injective is up a touch. Not too bad a day. And losers, we don't have any double-digit losers today, which is good. The meme coins seem to have taken a bit of a kicking. Floki, Bonk, Popcat, Dog with Hat, all taking a bit of a kick. Arweave is down. Stark is down. And Celestia at $4. Unheard of. I mean, that really has taken a spanking over the last, 9 months? Really not good. Anyway, as I said, we have a lot to get through. So let's get cracking. And some parts of this show you're probably going to find really uninteresting today. And I do apologise, but sometimes I have to go over certain things which I think need covering, really. Just a quick reminder, 2 years ago, Miss El Salvador, that was her costume. Her costume 2 years ago was Bitcoin inspired, Bitcoin related. And I'm not saying that's the greatest costume anybody's worn in the history of Miss World, but you know what? As far as putting Bitcoin on the world stage goes, she's done as much as anybody else, I'd imagine. Moving on. So 9 days from today, we have Solana Breakpoint. Now, normally, unlike the Bitcoin conference, Solana Breakpoint is normally all about hype and FOMO, and it's all about exciting new things that are going to be launched. I'm starting to see people on X saying that Solana's had its run. It's not going to go very high. It's going to perform really badly over the next 12 months. And those types of comments I put in the same category as the comments made about every other coin. Remember, people have agendas to say things. It doesn't mean they're speaking the truth all the time. The same with meme coins. You listen to anybody talk to you about a meme coin, even me, take your own advice, go and do your own research. Breakpoint has traditionally seen, I think it's a 20 to 30% pump in the price of Solana over the last 3 or 4. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, we don't know, but it's only 9 days away, which would make it a week on Friday, I believe. And Jupiter is very excited about Breakpoint, as we used to be excited when, back in the day, there was a couple of different Bitcoin conferences which kind of gave a lot of hopium to the market. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And we always pumped after the Bitcoin conference that we had. And then 1 year, maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago, it just stopped pumping based on that news. So yeah, I mean, maybe that'll be the same for Breakpoint, but I expect big news coming out of Breakpoint this year. I think it's going to be a good one. They have a new mobile phone on the way. There's lots of things happening. I'm seeing a few comments in chat. The moderators were in the tank for Kamala. Well, I heard that, and in all honesty, I do believe that he was fact-checked about cats and dogs, and she wasn't fact-checked about any of the things that she was saying about him. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to take any sides. We'll go over it in a second. Crypto's top DeFi projects by development. Directional indicators represent each project's ranking position since last month. Remember, this is no hard and fast list of projects that are going to succeed. This is a list of projects that are building based normally on their commits to GitHub, I believe. That's what it normally uses. The normal ones are up there. DYDX, Synthetics are up there. Lido in 3rd position. Injective, Osmosis, Uniswap, Maker DAO is up there. The usual crowd are up there. And again, if you're looking to look at DeFi projects which might have a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of pumpage going on in the next couple of months, it's always good to check out projects based on development, because they're normally building towards something. Rather than just maintaining a project, they're building towards it. So for example, Lido Finance is up there in 3rd position. What are they going to add to their project? What does their roadmap say? Synthetics, even though I don't hold it, I think it's a solid project. What are they looking towards building? Are they going to be launching new products along with synthetic stocks? We shall wait and see. Because of the B Americans, Harris will win. I think she's so far behind. I can't see it. But again, who am I? I'm not an American. I'm not going to be voting, but I just can't see her winning. I watched a video of Kamala Harris from 2020, and I saw a video of her from 2024, and I'm not even sure they're the same person, because she was so switched on in 2020. She was so on point. She was articulate. She was intelligent. And some of the things I've seen in the last 6 months, I don't know whether she's dumbing her speech down. I don't know whether she's been told to intentionally talk in, baby syllables and baby sentences. Who knows? Trading and partying. John Brown, one of the more serious accounts that I follow. Come too early to the party and be bored. Come too late and miss the fun. Leave too early and miss the fun. Leave too late and get crushed. Again, it's so applicable to Bitcoin. If you were here last summer and you were buying Bitcoin at $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, you've had to wait an awfully long time. What we at now? $55,000 now. So you've done your 330% gain or whatever it might be, but you're going to have to wait another year for maybe the next 3x from here. So you can come too early, but I don't think you can ever be too early for Bitcoin. I think you can be too early for alts, because the FOMO will pump them up to prices that they might not see for a very long time. But with Bitcoin, I think if you buy Bitcoin and you hold it for a period of 5 years, you are always going to see a higher price than what you paid for it. Remember, you could have bought at $69,000 4 years ago, and now you would have seen $73,000 3.5 years later. So I think within a 5-year period, you're always going to see a higher price for Bitcoin. So again, if you are here and you are bored, don't worry about it. It's everybody. I mean, I've been here for 7 years, 8 years. Believe you me, you have boredom, fear, doubt, uncertainty, panic, all of those kind of things happen. Now then, this is the big news today. Is it a good idea to sell my Aave at a profit and buy back in a couple of days on the dip? If you're in profit on Aave, I would certainly take some profit. Anything that isn't Bitcoin, I would look at taking profits from and then just wait for dips. And you might miss it this time around. Bitcoin could go to $80,000, but Bitcoin always gives you a chance and it will come down. A little bit like playing Liverpool, they always give you a chance at the back. When you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's always going to give you a couple of chances in a game. Bitcoin is the same. We'll see retracements in the next 12 months of 30% again. And that's when the alts will get smashed, and that's when you should be able to buy back in. But if you're in solid profit, take some. Now, this is the smallest text known to mankind. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so you can actually read. Let's have a look. There we go. So the US Consumer Price Index. That's what we've been running at. 8%, 7.5%. We've brought it down. Well, we haven't. America has brought it down through a combination of, I don't know whether, I don't want to use the wrong terms. Creative accountancy would be the term to use. Now, the release date is the 11th of September at 8:30. That is, what's that? That's in about 4.5 hours time. 4 hours and 20 minutes, we're going to find out what the CPI data is. It was 2.9. The forecast is 2.5. Now, what's important here is when we get to look at Bitcoin in a minute, there's been two potentially overriding elements that are going to affect the Bitcoin price. One is obviously the debate that, have I got a link? Yes, I do. Yeah, the next one. One is the debate and the other is the CPI. If we come in at 2.4 or 2.5, I think that frees up Chairman Powell to do a 0.5% rate cut. If we come in at 2.5 to 2.6, we're going to see 0.25% rate cut. Now, we can have a hawkish 2.5 and a dovish 2.5. It's what he says about them that matters. Either way, we're going to get a rate cut, okay? Now, we could go to 54,000, 53,000 tonight. We could also go back above 58,000. This is why I don't like people using leverage on rate decision days, CPI data days. It's a gamble. It's like going on black or red on a roulette table. You don't know what the outcome is going to be, but we do know it's coming down. We do know we're getting a rate cut. It depends on if it's a hawkish or a dovish rate cut, and that's what's going to decide where we go. Now, that's one of the bits. I reckon once the rate cuts come in a couple of weeks, you'll see crypto fly. I think we will see a dip first, and then we will see a pump. I've been trying to look at the data on it, and I don't think we rip straight away. I think the alts have a better chance of ripping than Bitcoin, but in a few weeks, then I think we will. Now then, I haven't picked out an article. I just want to show you the two different sides of the debate. And you have, depending on who you are, you have people backing Kamala, you have people backing Donald Trump, you have people backing Kamala Harris, you have people backing Trump, you have people backing Trump. Again, I think that the problem with debates is they're very, very subjective, and you want to get out of it what you want to get out of it, and everything that's said by the other person is disregarded. Now, if you went back 30 or 40 years in the UK, you would have critical questions being asked by the panel, by the interviewer. And in the last 40 years, it's all gone. It's all gone. And people get gimme questions. You know, what was it like to score that hat trick today? Did it feel good? Yeah. Not a case of, you know, you were playing against weaker opposition. You were expected to score those goals. How do you think you're going to do against Arsenal? Whatever it might be. The critical element has gone out of the debate. And we end up with sound bites. And even people in these conversations are talking about sound bites. You know, Donald Trump talking about the cats and dogs. Kamala Harris talking about threat to democracy. They're sound bites. There's no substance to what either of them are saying. And the issue is, maybe they're talking to their audience, and maybe what you got to understand with debates, and again, I've said this before, I've studied politics since I was 18. It's not your job to win over 100% of the population. It's your job to win 50.1% of the population. It's your job to win enough seats to get into power. They do not care about the extreme left or the extreme right. What they're going after is the middle ground. And they both seem to be dumbing down their language to appeal to the middle ground. It happens in every part of the world. It happens in the UK. It happens in Australia. From what I've seen, it was a very lowbrow debate. And again, it's very difficult to take anything of substance from it. Now, why did this affect the Bitcoin price? That is what's important. The Bitcoin price and stocks and shares, they are based on certainties. They are based on having all of the information to hand. Now, before this debate, you could argue that Trump was potentially 5 or 6 points ahead. I think some polls had him 8 points ahead. We lost 57.7 and came all the way down to 56.1. So we lost 2%. Why did that happen? Because the markets are telling you that they think that Harris won that debate. If Trump had absolutely destroyed Harris in that debate, we would not be sitting at 56.6 today. We'd be sitting at maybe 58.1, 58.2. So the market is telling you that Harris had the better debate. Now, that's not difficult. It's like two pigs swilling around in mud, and one of them manages to stand up for 5 minutes longer than the other. That's the equivalent of what happened. So don't take X's word or my word for it. How did the market react? The same with when you look at who's going to win the Premier League. The bookies are never really wrong. They'll always back Man City. If suddenly one season they start to back Arsenal, then you know the bookie thinks Arsenal's going to win the Premier League. They think Kamala Harris had a very good debate, and that is why we moved to the downside. However, as people keep pointing out, in 4 or 5 years' time, it won't matter who wins this election because Bitcoin doesn't care. And to some extent, I agree, but to another extent, I don't agree. Bitcoin will be a national reserve asset if Trump comes to power. That is 1 million Bitcoin being taken off the market over the period of 3.5 years. That's going to have more of a positive impact than Kamala Harris. That's the way I see it. The markets think that she's had a good campaign. We did whip down to where, the bottom of our channel. We're back at 56.6. Let's see what happens today with the CPI data. If the CPI data comes in 2.6 or slightly above, we could be in a bit of bother. England are coming to Australia for a 2020 series. Well, what I'd like to say to you about that, Peter, is there is no shame in coming second to England at cricket. The same way there's no shame in coming second at rugby to England or football to England. They are, of course, the national sports of the greatest nation on earth, are they not? Now then, this is a little bit of a sidestep, and I will understand if some of you do not have any interest in this. So I'm going to go through it reasonably quickly. And what I want to show you is something which I don't think many people explain to you in the cold light of day. So we've got a couple of articles up here. which we're going to show you. Okay. So, let's wait for these to load. As always, I have to accept cookies at least 20 times in a stream. So, the US government is $31.4 trillion in debt. Okay? Nobody ever asks the question, who is the money owed to? Does America owe $31.4 trillion to China? Do we know that? Do they owe $30.4 trillion to Australia? And also, why does this matter? This matters greatly because there's an element of smoke and mirrors to debt, which I'm going to very quickly go through without breaking you into a period of sleep. So, this is the national debt. Debt held by the public and debt held in intergovernmental holdings. Intergovernmental holdings. These are the top 10 countries in the world that have the most US debt. Now, remember the number 31.4 trillion in debt. America is 31.4 trillion in debt. But if you add up the top three, that comes to what? 2.5, 2.6 trillion. So if they owe 31.4, but they only owe 2.6 to Japan, China, and the UK, what's going on? Now, also, the United Kingdom is 1.4 trillion in debt, but they're owed 670 billion by America. So half the debt that we have is owed to us by America. Okay? So that's the first one I wanted to show. Just a very quick breakdown of which countries America owes debt to. And this is what I'm trying to explain about debt. It's not what you think it is. It's not like the debt on your house. It's not like your mortgage. It's not like you owing a loan to the bank necessarily. So this is who holds the American debt. 35% of all that debt, 10 trillion, is owed to the Federal Reserve and the government itself. So a third of all the money, it owes itself and the Federal Reserve. Okay? Only 23% of that debt is held by other countries. The UK, China, Japan. That's it. Okay? Now you know why the UK and America have such a special relationship. Okay? Because we're the second or third largest creditor to America. So if a third of the debt is owed to the government and the Federal Reserve, and only 23% of it is owed to foreign companies, why do we bother about worrying about 31.4 trillion when we should only really worry about $7 trillion in debt? Because that's what we owe to other people. It's like borrowing money off your wife or your husband or your brother or your sister. If you live in the same household, it's the same money. It's the same, you owe £100 for this, but I am going to pay for the shopping this week, which is £200, so you owe me £100 for that. The difference is accounting, okay? America could quite easily go and print all the money it ever needs. The UK, Japan, China could go and print all the money they ever need. They don't do it because they have this mesh of interdependency on each other. And if they keep printing money, the money will become worthless. So they borrow, and borrowing strengthens their economy, and they create ties. And they have created ties with China, Japan, and England. There is no coincidence that those are the three companies that they have, the countries that they have the debt with. So it's all smoke and mirrors, is what I'm trying to say to you. Now, just to put this into context with the UK, Americans have short attention spans. Next week on something else. More than likely, yes. More than likely. Although I'm not going to say that. I'm not American. So, this is what the UK has in terms of its debt. And again, everybody says it's 100% of the GDP, And the UK it's on its backside, and Germany and France, all of these countries are absolutely knackered, okay? Look at the debt. 620 billion is foreign investors. 1.5 trillion is institutional investors and the UK banks. Where did the UK banks get their money from? They get it from you. Where do the UK institutional investors get their money from? The profits they make from you. So the government is borrowing money from the banks and from institutional investors. But that's not a foreign debt. There's only 620 billion of foreign debt, which again is about 25% of the total debt of the UK, the same as America, okay? So when we see all of these massive end of the world scenarios where America is in a massive amount of debt, it's not. It owes itself 75% of the money. The UK owes itself 75% of the money. Okay? If you want to see real problematic debt, you need to look at the African countries that are being held accountable by the Western states. The Western debt is creative accountancy. That's all it is. And yes, there is debt to be serviced and debt to be paid. But if the UK government could print all of its money tomorrow and pay off $620 billion, pounds, why doesn't it? Because that wouldn't work with the rest of the countries. We owe America maybe 300 billion. They owe us 700 billion. The net is 400 billion in our pocket. So why don't we call in the 400 billion and pay off the rest of the foreign investors? It's absolute nonsense, all of it. And the one other thing, and the reason why crypto is so important to understand, is inflation brings down the value of this debt. The value of the pound, as the euro, as the dollar, they've all lost 25% of their value in the last 2 years. Do you know what also has lost 25% of its value over the last 2 years? The debt. If you looked at inflation-linked debt, we have less debt today than we had 3 years ago when we were borrowing for the pandemic, because we've devalued everybody's currency in the world. So everything is now worthless. And the only people, again, that suffer are you. So you give the money to the banks, they give it to the government. You spend your money in a shop, that will go to institutional investors that will borrow the money to the government. You pay the government tax. The government gets everything, and it doesn't really need at any point to do anything other than keep this serviceable debt at a rate that they can pay back. Keep inflation at 2.5%. Why is 2.5% important? Because within 40 years, the total value of the debt will be zero. You get a 30-year mortgage, you're expected to pay pretty much twice for your house what you buy it for. The government knows within 40 years it has no debt because the debt is inflated away to zero. So they are not the same as you, and you need to understand that when you see public debt, it is all creative accountancy, and it is not what you think it is. There is nobody going to come knocking on the door of America or the UK or Japan or China asking for their money back. They are intertwined with each other, whether people like it or not. And that creates this interdependency where they don't need to print money, they can just borrow money and lend money back. And it keeps the economy going and it keeps inflation high. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just putting the information out there so you know how it goes. Now, back to, hopefully I haven't sent too many of you to sleep with that. Michael Saylor has promised $13 million for the price of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor, chairman of MicroStrategy, has said 13 million by 2045. Now, what is the problem with 2045? I will probably be 70 years of age then. Do I want to hold my Bitcoin for the next 20 years and have a very rich few years left of my life? No, I do not. This is another problem that you have with predictions that are so far into the future, you can't possibly say they're going to be right or wrong. You can only look back in time and see where people have predicted. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we covered it last week. He predicted a $350,000 Bitcoin by August. We're now in September at $55,000. Take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not going to mention the C word or oceans or anything like that or the temperature, because that's not what the channel is about. But you only have to look back 5 or 10 years and take the predictions for 2020, 2025 to see that although there is an awful lot of merit in what they are talking about, they are also using scare tactics to get you there. And I do not agree with scare tactics on anything. So he has predicted on the 10th of September on the CNBC show, we will get to $13 million by 2045. Now, this shouldn't come as a shock to you. We covered Bitcoin 2024, in which he talked about where Bitcoin is going to go to. And if you were a Bitcoin maxi, a double maxi, or a triple maxi, how much money you would have within the next 20 years. So this isn't new. This is something we've covered. However, he's now talking about it on TV. And that is bullish, no matter how you want to divide it up. And remember, Michael Saylor is not in this for you or I. He runs a company called MicroStrategy. It has outperformed everything else in the world bar Bitcoin. It has gone up. I think the share price at one point was 14 or 40 cents, and now it's at $200 or $300. His company is worth billions. He is worth billions. There is a prediction that when Bitcoin hits, I think it's $1 million, he will become the richest person in the world. So he has his vested interests, okay? And yes, when you get to the point of being as wealthy as he is, you can start to be a little bit more, what's the word? Philanthropic. So 13 million. Incredible. Saylor pointed out that Bitcoin is unique because it doesn't rely on any third party, which makes it less risky as compared to other products. While many view Bitcoin as high-risk investment due to its volatile nature, Saylor argued it's actually a safer option for investors who believe in secure and stable investment. His predictions, which span 21 years, show Bitcoin appeared bullish despite trading. We don't need to talk about this. We just need to talk about the title. Now, here's one more thing I want to say about Bitcoin. We don't look at the chart because we've already looked at it. Is why do you want to hold Bitcoin? Because you think it is a store of value like gold. Okay? I get that. And it is a store of value like gold. What is the difference between the store of value of gold and the store of value of Bitcoin? In my opinion, if you are a nation which has its reserves in gold and you get invaded by a third party, I'm not thinking of any particular country here, but there are instances from, World War II, there's instances from the last 20, 30 years where nations have been invaded, the gold and the dollars held in reserves have been taken by that nation and it's gone. Now, if you are El Salvador and you've got 500 Bitcoin and each one of those Bitcoin is suddenly worth $10 million, then you are worth, what's that, $5 trillion? Then you could, for example, run into conflict with another nation. If you're holding it in dollars and gold, they are seizable assets. They can come in and they can take those assets. If you hold them in Bitcoin and you hold them on a ledger, or let's say you don't hold them on a ledger. Let's say you send them from your governmental treasury computer and you send them to another wallet on the other side of the world. Your assets are safe. So as well as being an individual and having your assets safe and it being a store of value, as well as having a company like Apple, or even, God forbid, Warren Buffett, If Warren Buffett decided to put his $277 billion into Bitcoin as a store of value, then he would know, if he was a crypto and Bitcoin maxi, of course, that in the next 5 or 10 years, that's likely to be worth $600 billion, $700 billion, whatever it might be. But it's also a store of value for countries. A country's currency is supported by several things, and we're not going to go over them again. We've covered that only a few days ago. But El Salvador is using Bitcoin to become a wealthier nation. America will likely do the same thing. If you look at the countries that hold the largest amount of Bitcoin, I think it's America, China, the UK. It was Germany, I think, was up there. They sold theirs. So they've already got their foot in the door. And I think what Saylor is doing is he's getting as much Bitcoin as he can now, knowing that it doesn't matter if he pays $60,000 or $70,000 or $50,000 for Bitcoin today, if it's going to be worth even $500,000 in 6 or 7 years' time. He doesn't care, because he knows there will come an inflection point where the supply and the demand just don't balance. Yesterday was a perfect example. It was a very slow day for ETFs yesterday. They still bought 2,000 Bitcoin. There are only 450 Bitcoin a day being mined. And on a slow day, they bought 4.5 times the supply that was mined that day. If they do that every working day, at what point are people going to realize that there is not enough Bitcoin in the world? And when that day comes, the price of Bitcoin will be a 6-figure sum. And it doesn't apply to Ethereum or Solana or Cardano or XRP. Bitcoin is a scarce asset, which is uncensorable. And that's where we're going to go to. We just have to take our patience and park what we want it to be today, knowing that in 2 or 3 years' time, it's going to be so much higher. Now we're going to move on. DECC. This is yet another buzzword, and I know you all love buzzwords. Buzzwords are great. They make people excited. You can just look at RWAs. You look at Deepin. Deepin's a great one. You can look at what other buzzwords have we had in the last few years? The ag layer, I suppose, is kind of a buzzword. Not very sexy, but there we go. Now we have another one, which is decentralized confidential computing. Flashy new buzzword, but solving on-chain privacy could bring crypto to new heights. How exciting is that? I'm not sure it rolls off the tongue the same as RWA or Deepin. What would we call it? DEXI? Sounds too much like Dexi's Midnight Runners for me, but DEXI. Maybe we'll stick with DEXI. Deepin is an excellent example. Dozens of previous obscure and undefinable protocols able to rebrand themselves. Exactly. Data centers have been around for the last 30 years. They're nothing new. DEXI promises to be a fresh gust of wind for a host of privacy and data protection protocols. Coined by a collective alliance of over 20 protocols, DEXI is set to breathe new life into one of the industry's most crucial sectors. This sounds like a lot of nonsense. DEXI wields a distinct advantage over Web2 confidentiality and data protection due to its inherent distribution. By spreading sensitive data and information across multiple destinations, DEXI mitigates many of the risks associated with centralized computing. Credit card detail storage, zero-knowledge proofs, yes. Fully homomorphic encryption, yes. Multi-party computation, trusted execution environment, very good. Equilibrium, a popular blockchain infrastructure provider, argues that privacy is a prerequisite for expanding the design space of blockchains beyond the current speculative data. How does it improve? It brings benefits. It brings benefits to DeFi, Deepin, AI. One of the founding members of the DEXI Alliance is Arcium. is spearheading growth and adoption of the sector through crypto industry. Their confidential computing network aims to provide scalable and composable infrastructure. Now, again, something about this isn't new. There have been many attempts at creating decentralized privacy. Going back, we pitched one to the gaming companies about 3 or 4 years ago, where you would have your own persona. If you wanted to go and use one of the gambling sites, you would have all of your data stored in your wallet, and you would turn on and turn off access to the various different platforms that you wanted to access. It could be rolled out over insurance companies. This stuff's been around for a very long time. There were some very big, sizable companies that were working on this. Again, back in the ICO era, we talked to a couple of them. And again, it never took off because I think they were simply too early. Whereas I think there's more people now. DEXI offers a fresh start to dozens of crypto projects, old and new. And it's an emerging sector. It's not an emerging sector. It's a sector that's been around for a while, but now it has a buzzword. So now you know, DEXI is to do with decentralized privacy. Now you know. Where could you get this information in 1 hour? I ask you. Right then, let's move on very quickly before we run out of time. It's 11:42. We still have 4 things to get through. 4 minutes an article, plenty of time. Now, for those of you that do not know, this may come as a shock to you. Not every crypto asset in your decentralized wallet is yours and yours alone. There are multiple ways for companies to freeze assets, and quite rightly, they should be able to do this. We are not in the Wild West, and USDT, and I believe USDC, and probably PYUSD, and probably XRP USD when that comes out. They all have the ability to freeze the stable coins in your MetaMask wallet or whatever wallet you may have. Excuse me, I tried to move the mic then. So Tron is partnering with Tether to fight illicit activities. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with this. I do not believe that you should be able to get away with this level of activity. It's wrong, and I'm all for it. And yes, there is the argument that it shouldn't be, your wallet is your wallet and it's non-custodial. Yes, it is. But if you store it in an asset like a stable coin like Tether, they should be able to freeze your assets if you've taken them by illicit gains. And I totally agree with that. So Tron, Tether and TRM Labs have announced they are joining forces to establish the T3 Financial Crime Unit, a first-of-its-kind initiative aimed at facilitating public-private collaboration to combat illicit activity associated with USDT on the Tron blockchain. Again, all for this. They are designed to disrupt criminal activity by using real-time data and advanced analytics to track the flows of USDT. Justin Sun commented, by collaborating, Tron ensures blockchain tech benefits society while making it clear that illicit activity won't be tolerated. The expansive ecosystem with 240 million users, 8.4 billion transactions is central. Now, there is one caveat to this. We don't need to read any more about this. The problem is that we are trying to get away from censorship. And if you look at certain countries around the world in the last 3 or 4 years, they have seized bank accounts of people who disagree with their governments. That's not how this needs to be. If you steal, you should be found and punished. And that goes for every walk of life. If you steal on Tron or Ethereum or Solana, you should have the assets froze, destroyed, ideally, and then the actual assets reminted and sent back to you as the victim. That's how it should work. 4 acts of illicit activities, I totally agree with this. Where I have a huge problem in the near future is if Tron and Tether and Circle and the likes start to bow to political pressure, then we are in the same situation we're in now with banks. And that is a problem because you lose the trust in Tether and Circle. Why would you hold your assets? If you are, for example, a Democrat in America right now, and Trump wins the election, hypothetically speaking, he wins the election, and he decides to go after all of the Democrat sponsors, and he gets hold of your wallet address and he seizes all of your USDT or freezes it. Is that fair? No, it's not. Should that be allowed? No, it shouldn't. Who is going to stop it from happening? That's the question. Because we're replacing one form of censorship with another. So what's Tron, Tether, TRM, what are they doing to ensure this is only for the right reasons? That is what we need to do. We need to make sure that this follows the correct path. And that correct path is making sure that you cannot be punished for your beliefs. And that could be religious, your preference in partner, your political persuasion. That has to stay out of this. And this should be about catching scammers, hackers, whatever it might be. Anyway, we're going to move on very quickly because, again, we're going to run out of time. We've now got 13 minutes left. FET and Tau jump 10% as Apple unveils iPhone 16 AI features. And again, I am not an Apple maxi. I have an Apple phone, but it's an old one. And again, I think it's all hype. But saying that, it's good that they are starting to delve into the world of AI. So, Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Google, and OpenAI often spark activity amongst the AI coins. FET and Tau have pumped. Again, why are we talking about Singularity and Ocean when they are all FET? How old is this article? Okay, Lockridge, let me explain to you something, my friend. FET, Ocean, and Ajax are now ASI. They are not different companies, even though they may still be listed. They are one and the same. Near, ICP, Render, they are also up. The market for AI, I said this a few weeks ago, has been super quiet. Yes, it has. But I do think that there will come a time where that market will return. And you need to make sure that you are stacked with the assets that you want, in my opinion. So you need to make sure that you have got maybe your ASI, maybe your Near, maybe your Render, whatever other AI coins that you like, because at some point they are going to start partnering with Apple, Google, Android phones as well. They will be next. You've got to be careful with smaller coins. I'll say that. The smaller coins are likely to get you burnt at this stage. Yes, you might do exceptionally well and might make a decent return, but just think about where we are in the market. What have we got left? 12 months? If I was you, and this isn't the same as meme coins, I'd be talking about lower caps. You want to be looking at everything above, I would say, 500 million to get a solid bag of AI coins. Now, I have my favorites and I hold some of these, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the others. It just means I'm only going to hold a few. So Potenza is 39th, Render is 38th, ASI is approaching the top 20, ICP is just above it, Near. So you've got 3 coins approaching the top 20. And I think all of those 3 are going to do exceptionally well. I think Render will do well. Render already has a partnership with Apple. Going further down, I like IOs. at 430. Further down, I like IO.net at 191. I don't know if it's going to go to a $10 billion coin. I don't think so. So where's it going to go? $1 billion? 1.2? Something like that. I think it will do well. I think I gave a target of $5. I think $5. Maybe. $5 or $10 anyway, whatever that is. So that's a 7x from where we are now if it was a $10 target. Again, it's not for me to tell you which coins to buy, but you should hold AI tokens. The fact that it's not in the news every day will see the price start to come down. That's when you accumulate. Is AI going to go anywhere? Will AI be here in 5 years' time? Yes. Will those real-world asset tokens be here in 5 years' time? Yes. Will all of those meme coins that are in the top 10, top 20 today, will they be here in 5 years' time? Probably not. So choose the horses that you ride into this bull run wisely, because I'm going to try and not cover too many small projects between now and the end of the bull run, because I don't want people running off buying tokens which are just not going to have enough steam for the bull run. Now then, moving on very quickly. Remember, if you're new here, smash the like button and say hello. The poll, by the way, of the day, it's CPI day today. Is Bitcoin going to go up or down? 64% of you have said down, and I'm not going to disagree with you today. I am not going to disagree with you today. What I am going to disagree with is there is a real lack of viewership today. The viewing numbers are really, really down. And again, you expect that in the market that we're in now, which is choppy. You're going to see this kind of price action. I can't see any comments because this chat is full of spam. But if you do have comments, remember, this is a live stream. I'm actually here. So feel free to comment and say whatever you want. Frentech team abandons the project, transfers platform control to burn address. What is going on? Again, I never went near Frentech. I say quite a lot on this channel that things need adoption. And that goes for Uprock, for example. It also goes for Helium. They need adoption to work. I am not willing to take a risk on a project that needs that amount of adoption to work. Now, Frentech, it was something that some of the influencers on X started to use. I think you could earn a revenue from Frentech if you were a fairly big influencer. Hasn't really gone too well now, has it? A base project once touted as the pioneer and leader of the nascent SocialFi crypto sector is up in the air after the team appeared to abandon the project, transferring control to a burn address. Admin and ownership parameters have been set to X000000 to prevent any changes to their fees or functionality. This change does not affect the separate web client operated Frentech, which we will continue to function as is, no fees. As per an X post, the Frentech team explained this transfer of powers would prevent any changes to their platform fees or functionality in the future. But this has been widely interpreted by the crypto community as the team abandoning the project. This was an excellent rug by the devs and Paradigm. For those who are unaware, the entire hype around Frentech started and persisted precisely because of investments from Paradigm. It was solely that allowed devs to collect $60 million in fees. Vietnam Penguin explained that investments from Paradigm were behind the hype that saw it rake in that sheer amount of money. They exited ahead of the devs, declining their allocation in the token early this year. The devs appear to attempt to calm fears about the rug pull. We have no plans to shutter. Again, there's no smoke without fire. And again, I don't see this as a project which is going to be around. After making as much as $2 million per day in September last year, the revenues barely exceeded $2,000 a day in July and August per DeFi Llama. The Friend token continues to trend towards zero after momentarily reaching as high as $3 right after its launch in May. It was at 8 cents on DEX Tools. Now, does that graph look familiar? Because it does to me. Now, again, a little sidestep. we've still got Sweet Caroline to go through. If you are in any of these gaming click-to-earn projects or games on on Telegram or anything like that, you should, and in my opinion, based on the historical data that I have seen, you should sell your tokens as soon as humanly possible, because in most cases, in 99 cases out of 100, these projects are a race to zero. We have looked at earn to move, or move to earn, sorry, click to earn, play to earn, SocialFi. All of these projects emit tokens, but there is very little buy pressure. The buy pressure comes from hype, and the buy pressure comes from FOMO, mainly from retail. If you are in any of these Telegram games and you can make $40 or $50, you should sell it. And if you believe in Telegram, then you should buy the TON token by all means. Or sell it to Bitcoin, or even sell it to stable coins. But they're going to go down to zero. Now, I'll give you another example. So that is Friendtech. We're pretty much over with that. It's pretty much gone. Now, here's another one. I'm not sure if this is the right chart. Maybe I'll have to go and get the other one. Now, if we go and look at this chart, where is that going? Give me a second. There. That is dogs. Okay. Here is another one. This is Steppen. Steppen was a walk to earn, if that's what you want to call it. Now, yes, the graph looks very good at this moment in time. Let me just try and make this smaller so you can see the price action. And again, I have shown this before on the channel. I'm aware that I have shown you this. For those of you that aren't new here, however, we have to show people what happens to these projects. So again, at which point do we want to say that it's worth holding that token for the long run? They are a race to zero. If you held from $1, you'd have lost 85% of the value by holding Steppen. And that's lost it from, it's 2 years. 2 years you've lost 85% of the value. Okay? It's never coming back. Okay? We can't take it back. We can look at as many of these projects as possible. The key to understand is games are a race to zero. They are a race to zero. They are never going to make you any money holding their token. There is only ever going to be maybe 2 or 3 examples of that. This is another one. And I like this project, I've mentioned it before, but it's always important to show you why I think you need to sell these tokens. Okay, this was at 5 cents. So what's that lost? 90% of its value. They all lose value. Okay, in the words of Pennywise, they all float down here. Okay, and that's what they do. They all float down here. Okay, they don't float up here, they float down here with Pennywise. They are finished. In every case that I have seen, they are finished. I am yet to see a gaming token hold its value. Now, saying that, in a bull run, I have picked out coins in the past, Big Time, for example, which has a little bit more of a Fortnite style, where you can pay for your seasons with tokens and stuff like that. Yes, maybe. Star Atlas will do really well when it goes live. The token is still never going to go back to 10 cents. Okay, WagMe is gone, finished. Dogs, cats, mice, chickens, hamsters, all gone. Okay, you need to look at games that are not click to earn. and require you to stake your tokens to earn rewards. That's the only thing you can do. The rest of them are junk and you will lose your money. Okay? So don't sit there thinking you're clever, saying, I'm going to hold my dogs because dogs is going to go to 10 cents. Okay? It's already lost 2/3 of its value. So your $60 is now worth 20. Are you going to wait for your $20 to be worth 5 before you sell it? Okay? I'm serious about this stuff because the tokenomics don't stack up. Why do you think we spend so long talking about tokenomics, market cap, buy and sell pressure? We do it because you need to understand the basics of how crypto works. A scarce asset like BNB, which has a burn mechanism, will go up over time. A project where it is pumping 15% of its tokens out with no staking mechanism and no reason to hold it is going to lose a minimum of 15 or 20% every year. In most cases, 95%. Race to zero. And they'll tell you when it goes from $1 to a cent and it goes back up to 5 cents, they'll tell you it's back, it's up 500%, buy into this token, you buy in at 5 cents, it goes back to 2 cents, you are their exit liquidity, and off they jolly well go with your money. Now then, Caroline Ellison, sweet Caroline, is set to face sentencing on September the 24th, 2 weeks following the FTX fallout. We haven't done one of these in a while. I remember when this was every day. We were covering FTX every day. Something new was coming out and we were covering it. So, she pled guilty in December 2022, almost 2 years. The lawyer has asked the judge on Monday to redact some names and information regarding her living situation that could put her at risk. She will face sentencing in New York on the 24th. She went out with Sam Bankman-Fried. Again, caused consumers to lose billions of dollars. As far as I was aware, FTX managed to get all of the money back. They were that bad at accounting that they got everybody's money back. The fraud charges against Ellison include 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, actual wire fraud, money laundering. Maximum sentence is 110 years. I believe Sam got 25 years. So I don't think she's going to get any longer than that. And then the others, Gary Wang, he will be sentenced on the 20th. Singh, October the 30th. She is likely to get somewhere, I would imagine, 15 to 25 years. Ellison's lawyer also asked for information about her living to be redacted. This is a pretty much a non-article, isn't it? It said the same thing 3 times. There we go, 12:04, we are done. Thank you, everybody. Today is Wednesday. I will be back tomorrow. Some interesting fact for you. On Friday, I will not be streaming. The Oracle himself will be taking over on Friday. God help you all on Friday. The Oracle will be taking over on Friday's show. So I am going to be streaming tomorrow. And then I will not be streaming again probably till Monday, unless I get a sponsored video between now and then. So I will see you all in the morning. Have a great day. Remember, CPI day, be careful. Be very careful about using leverage. I wouldn't be using leverage today. So stay safe. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Eugene, Peter, Mags, Hidden Agendas, everybody that's in chat. See you all in the morning. Take care.